again, I want to remind the people who are on chat that please make sure everything is muted, your sound and your video. And to communicate, to send questions or comments, please use the chat box and send it to, does it say organizer? Send it to Drew, okay, and then we'll get it. And today I'm happy to introduce our speaker. Her name is Leslin Charles, and she is the Rutgers Instructional Design Librarian and Educational Librarian. She has a special interest in information literacy, student engagement, and assessment of student learning. She leads the Rutgers Library's efforts to develop pedagogically sound learning experiences and appropriate assessment strategies in collaboration with both librarians and faculty here at Rutgers. And so I'm happy to turn the meeting over to Leslin.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I hardly recognize that person you're talking about. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I got myself off the screen. Yay. So, full disclosure, I have allergies, so please pardon my clearing of my throat. I might cough a little. I have a lot of resources here to help me through. I like to do my sessions in a really informal way, and I prefer not to hold questions until the end, because I feel like if the question comes to you in the moment, chances are somebody else has that question as well, and we probably should just address it. And many times I find it's a really good segue into the next portion of the presentation. So what has been happening is that I've been working with a lot of graduate students in the GSE. And we came to realize that I've been working with mostly the EdD students. I just assumed I was working with all of you. So it's nice to meet you guys. What has been happening is I've been going into classes in the summer for the EdD students to help them with the lit review process and how to ramp up their literature review and how to have the right tips and the tools for research. And so I am open to doing that for you all as well. The other thing that has been happening in the libraries is that I work one-on-one with students. So I meet with students at the Alexander Library one-on-one so that you can brainstorm your topics and just do your research together. You know, any questions you have, I'm here for you. You're looking for statistics, data, all kinds of stuff. So that's one of the things I do as well. My office, though, is over at the Livingston campus, and sometimes we meet there, but I'm really very flexible. It's all about what you need. So let's get going. So that's okay. Mouse will do. Okay, so this is just an overview of what we're going to cover today. We're just going to talk about brainstorming, and perhaps you might want to share your topics, and we can really have a nice conversation. We're going to talk about keywords, and then there's a really cool tool, the thesaurus, that you can use in the ERIC database. That's really good. And then there's a really nice trick called chase citations. And then, you know, you can chase some of the authors, and then you can decide on journals that you might want to publish in even. And then we have just a few reminders about choosing your data sources and your books and your websites to support your research. So there are a lot of ways to contact a specialist, and we do have chat, and we chat from, you can get into chat on the webpage right here. We chat from 10 a.m. in the morning. We have chat hours that go up until 10 p.m., but we also are working on increasing our hours. And you can find me on chat typically on a Wednesday from 10 to 12, but I'm here, so somebody else has taken my shift. So if you really want to talk to me via chat, you can on a Wednesday. You can also ask a librarian, where you leave a message, and librarians are assigned a particular day when they will be answering these questions. And then we have these LibGuides. I'm going to start off there. These are guides that have been put together for you by the experts, and so I'm the education librarian, and these have been put together for you. This is just one. This is a picture of myself many moons ago, but I'm not going to update it. So here we have all these tabs are very useful if you're looking for data. there are some places that you might want to get to. I'm just going to flip through this really quickly. I just want you to be aware that it's here. You might want to look at court decisions depending on the focus of your research. So how did I get there? I actually clicked on that link, but I'm just going to let you know the way to get there is from the library's homepage. Excuse me, from the library's homepage, you can just go to Get Help. There are several ways to get there. You can click on Get Help, Research Guides, and then you can go by subject, or you can just look if you're doing curriculum and instruction or whatever. There are different LibGuides that are there for you. So we call them LibGuides, people call them library guides, people call them research guides. It's all the same thing. It's a guide for you for your research. So I encourage you to use that, and you can, if you are there, and you can email me right from there. So you can just shoot me an email from that page, okay? So now let's talk about your topics. And I know that people come in with a lot of ideas, and this is what happens. And really, what I caution graduate students about is that, you know, this lovely idea that you have, this could be your life's work, right? So you can really narrow it down and then hold a piece of it. As you continue with your research, you can hold a piece of it for later on and just keep adding to your repertoire, so to speak. So if we had a topic, does anyone want to share? I know your mouths are full right now. Somebody who's not eating can share their topic. Sir?
Teacher knowledge and physics.
Teacher knowledge and physics. In physics, right. So teacher knowledge in physics. And so one of the ways for us to really distill that topic would be to look at which teachers, where are the teachers, and what's the range of this, possibly high school, something of, is it high school?
Yeah.
Okay, so it could have been college, it could have been anything, right? So what I want you to consider are some of these ways that you would want to really narrow down your topic. Anybody else? All right. So the other way that you might want to narrow your topic would be looking at it in a particular geographical area or some kind of locale. So state, city, a particular school district perhaps, or even a specific school. And of course, these slides are going to be made available, but this is just how you want to start with your research, just to really open up your minds. And I know that you're already into your program and you've done a lot of research. I'm just here to give you a few more tips. You may want to consider a time frame. Is it a historical perspective that you're taking? Actually, yesterday I was talking to a student who was looking, he was actually doing a class research in the disciplines, and the class was all about fashion. And he was looking at sportswear in the 1930s and how it compares to athleisure wear in 2017. So he has to go back because his research dictates that. Also, consider as well, when you're looking at a time frame, consider that sometimes references or labels have changed over time. So in the past, some references may have been deemed to be correct, politically correct, and that might be in the literature because it was fine then, but now it's changed. A lot of medical terminologies have changed to be more PC, and so on, especially in the education environment as well. So consider those things when you're considering a time frame. Think about how things might have been referred to in the past and how they are now, so that you can really cast a wide net and get what you're actually looking for. And the last thing I would say is to really play around with different ways of saying what you're looking at, because there are topics that are referred to in different ways by different authors. And we're going to take a look at that as well. There's something called controlled vocabulary that we're going to get into, where the system itself is calling the research system, or the research tool that you're using is actually calling your particular topic something and not maybe what you think it is. So you may, in your brainstorming session, this is really the start of the whole research process where you're really trying to say, this is what I'm doing. So you may, I don't have a whiteboard, but you may start off with a bubble with your main idea and just keep going with your bubbles and your circles all around and keep going to create kind of like a web or a matrix. And then you will be pulling those different synonyms and the different specifics, and then those would become keywords for you. And then the system itself will tell you the controlled vocabulary, and then you'll be able to really make sure that you're maximizing your research or your searching. Anything? Questions, comments, concerns? Okay. So some of the things that I just want to make sure that you remember would be when you're actually using these tools that we'll talk about. We're talking about Articles Plus, which is our discovery layer, as well as Google Scholar, and even the ERIC database, which are the three tools that I specifically tell the students at Rutgers that we really need to be using. Some of the ways that you can really maximize your searching would be to use this asterisk. A lot of the interfaces that we have allow this. Google Scholar also allows it, where you can put this asterisk, and then you would get interactivity or interactions, all the different variations of it. And then if it comes in the middle of the word, then you can actually do that. You would get woman or women, as in this case where it's called a wild card. So that's one of the things that I would recommend that you do. And then the other part of what you should be thinking about would be how to really broaden the search as well as to narrow the search really skillfully so that you're not frustrated, because the point of the whole exercise is for you to be really methodical and intentional in how you're pursuing your research. So when we're using this word or, and all of our tools actually have this now. I mean, this is just normal for us to have an interface that gives us the option to use or, where we have like concepts that are similar. And that's why at the beginning, we're trying to find as many synonyms or similar ideas so that we can now start to say, I want this or that, or this or that. All these similar terminologies or similar thoughts, I want them with or. So I'm really casting a wide net. And then I can add and to narrow it down to make sure that there are common terms in all of the pieces that I want. So then with the and, you're going to be narrowing your search. So of course, this is the opposite. Typically in life, when I say I want this or that, I want less. And in life, when I say I want and, I want more. But in research, it's the opposite. So just think opposite. So think about your Venn diagrams. In the case of homeless youth and education, you would have your intersecting circles, and you would have the middle portion would be the part that you would get the articles that overlap, the articles that have both those terminologies in them. And it would be the opposite for or. And clearly, you need to be careful with this operator, because then you could just narrow yourself down to nothing. So you need to be careful with that. Not is self-explanatory. So you would need to say, I don't want this particular thing. If you start doing your research, and like this morning I was preparing for you, and I started to look at, I'll show you the example as well. I started to look for mobile phone addiction in college students and cognitive factors. And I started to get a lot of stuff about Chinese students. And so I just said, not Chinese. And it knocked them right out. But then I got Taiwanese and I got other. But it's okay, because I was able to reduce it significantly. Of course, if you wanted to have a broader perspective, an international perspective, there would be nothing wrong with investigating what is happening with Chinese students, because of course we have quite a number of them who end up coming to Rutgers. So then there's the nesting, and this is, again, you're not even starting the research yet, you're really just playing around at this point. This is what I recommend. So you can now start to write out almost like a roadmap, if you will. So in this case, I have homeless and I have youth or adolescent, or whatever can come after that with that asterisk. And then I have and again, and I have education or school, schooling, so on. So then in the system, then I would just pluck in homeless, and then I would pluck in youth or adolescents, and then I would pluck in and education or school. So that's just a way for you to visualize how you might want to approach your research. And again, it goes all the way back to the first exercise of broadening your mind with your brainstorming. Has anybody done nesting before? Oh, yes, or high school, what is your topic again? High school physics teachers, yes, so you've done nesting. And how has it been for you? Has it been problematic? Has it been painful? Has it been successful?
No, it's good to narrow down results.
Yeah, it is. So I recommend that you try, just play around with it. Trust me, I'm the librarian. I can only speak truth. Okay. So let's talk about the control vocabulary that we're going to get into. It's different from the keywords. So you're brainstorming, you're looking for at-risk students, you're looking for teacher preparation, you're probably looking for cognitive interferences because of social media, whatever it is you're looking for. You create your own keywords, and the control vocabulary, conversely, has already been created. And it's in the system. The system is telling you this is what we call that particular term. So we're going to go there. And then you can consider terminal choices, choices life or death, the practice of death, the right to die. All of these are the same thing. All of these point to euthanasia. So the system might just have euthanasia, but their other authors would be using these terminologies. You guys with me? So I'm just going to escape here, and I'm just going to go to our favorite database. Well, my favorite database. It should be yours too. I always tell the graduate students, Eric is your friend, okay? So from the library homepage, I'm just gonna jump to my Eric, and I'm gonna go into some more descriptions of Eric, but I just wanted in this moment to look at an example of controlled vocabulary. So in Eric, now here we see that the system is already primed for your and or you're not, okay? So it's really easy. You can continue to add. After you've done your nesting, you can continue to add these categories. You can click on not and do everything else. So I want you to pay attention to this thesaurus feature that's in Eric, which is amazing. And let's say I'm looking for at-risk students. I would just browse for it and see what Eric is calling it. And Eric actually does call it at-risk students. Now, had I done at-risk with a dash, it would not be here. So the system doesn't call it at-risk with a dash. See what I mean? So it calls it, yeah, I see some people are amazed, right? This is why I'm here. This is why I am here. Okay, so let's browse. Now, when we click on at-risk, because this is what we want, what's really awesome is that there is a description. It even tells you prior to 2008, high-risk students may have been used. That's something that you might want to know about. And then there are broader terms of like at-risk students, but you want related terms. Look how many there are. And in your brainstorming, you may not have thought about half of these. Equal education, learning problems, potential dropouts. So maybe I'll go with, I'll go with academic failure. I'm going to go access to education, and maybe developmental studies programs. So I would be interested in that. And I would say, add all these 3 related terms to my search bar. So up here, you're telling the system, I want to use this descriptor, or remember, broader, access to education, or we're going broader. And if I click on search, I'm going to get 22,000 hits, and we all have a life. Nobody's going to read that. And so I can narrow this down by clicking on scholarly peer reviewed if I like, but I would shy away from that in Eric, because Eric has a lot of reports that would be really specific to your needs. So in Eric, I don't recommend that unless you've already done a broad search. So here now I can say, and I don't know, at-risk students and youth programs maybe? I don't know, let's try that. And oh, it brought me all the way down, which is amazing. So that's awesome. So we have case studies in here. Ooh, this is a dissertation that might be useful. We have creative arts, research in post-compulsory education. It's coming from that particular publication. And then, you know, I could say high school, I could say middle school, I could keep going, okay? So that's the value of the thesaurus. You may be looking at another topic that you had no idea that's what it's called. I mean, at-risk students, it was easy for me to find that, but sometimes there's a topic that it's the controlled vocabulary is not what you were expecting. And so this is the value of going into there. Has anyone used that before? That's my touchdown. Nobody in class. Yes, question.
I didn't see where you clicked to get the thesaurus.
Okay, so good. So I go back up, the thesaurus is up in this bar, right up here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and most people don't see it. You know, librarians, we see all. Okay, so let's keep going. So that's my example of controlled vocabulary. And just to bring the point home, think about if you're doing female prisoners and rehabilitation methods, you might want to say female prisoner, female inmate, rehab, and methods. Or you could have had an asterisk by the D, methods, methodology, etc. Okay? And then think about this. A book that's called Active Seniors in Today's World could have aged assigned as a subject heading, or a book called Them TV Preachers could be healers in mass media. You see where I'm going with this. And the advantage of the controlled vocabulary is that you are likely to get nearly everything on your topic in that particular system, because that's what they're calling it. And that's how they've been indexing their information, so things are aligned. Okay? So Google Scholar also uses truncation, and you can go ahead and try that on your own. And there are some limitations of Google Scholar that I want to talk about, and then I'm going to show you why I really love Google Scholar. So the search results may not be current or comprehensive. They're really working very well with this now, because previously you would have pieces of a citation, but Google Scholar is doing really much better over time. What happens with Google Scholar is that they talk with our system. So when you're at home and you log into, you're at home and you do a search on Google Scholar, you may find a bunch of hits on the right. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? And then it's not going to reveal what Rutgers University has, because it doesn't know you are affiliated with Rutgers. It's thinking you're just somebody in the world. But since you've paid tuition, you should be able to see everything that Rutgers has. So if you are identified as such, that's going to help you. So you go in through the libraries, or you can log into Google with your Scarlet Mail, and then it's going to know that you're a Rutgers person, and then you can actually, it will reveal what we have. The searching is less precise than in academic databases, because Google Scholar, it allows you to do exact phrasing and so on, but it does not allow you to do as many limitations as we are able to do in a database. Hopefully they'll get there, but it's still really very robust and something that I highly recommend for you. It doesn't search all scholarly content, obviously, and Google Scholar, I mean, in the libraries, we have packages that come from different publishers, right? Different publishers will send us this package of journals. And so we have a wide selection. And so, you know, Google Scholar is looking at an amalgam of different providers. Many records are available only as summaries or abstracts. That's improving, as I said, and you cannot sort your results by type. So just now when we were in ERIC, we were able to see their scholarly publications on the left, and you could narrow it down by magazines or different things. Google Scholar is not there yet. And this is the main clincher for me, that the results are ranked by an algorithm which favors frequently cited references. So stuff that's older tends to surface because it's been around longer, so it has more citations. So there's this little bias there, so just be aware of that. So let's talk about ERIC now. It has, like I said, ERIC is your friend. So it has all these studies, curriculum guides, journal articles, etc. The majority of the publications are peer-reviewed, so you can really trust it. And the documents are ED, and the journals are EJ. And you can limit to journals, or you can just limit to ED. So as in this area, you can actually filter. And like we just saw, you can use the thesaurus feature to assist you in building your keywords. So let's try it, and then we'll take another leap. So we already did ERIC, and I'm going to go back to the library homepage here. And I'm going to go to our Articles Plus layer. So when you get to the libraries, you're on this landing page. And by default, you're on our discovery layer, which is called Articles Plus. But I like to go this way, find articles, and then go to Articles Plus. And then I have this interface. And since I want something similar to what we just saw in ERIC, where I can have these operators that I can use. I can now start searching for whatever it is my topic is. The value of Articles Plus now is that because your research is not just education, it may have a psychological slant, anthropological, a political slant, some kind of cultural slant. Now, Articles Plus is going into hundreds of databases to find what you might want that's also connected to education. So when you're researching, you're going to go specifically to ERIC to get all the education stuff, but then you want to be really broad to get any tangential stuff that you might find is really useful for you. Okay, so this is the beauty of using Articles Plus. And when you use Articles Plus too, it's going to bring you books. It's going to bring you different types of media, which is great. So I'm going to say at-risk students again. Or what did I use this morning when I was preparing for this class? Let me take what I had. Okay, I'm going to go with mobile phone addiction. And of course, we could have called it cell phone addiction. And I have college students, because I see it all the time. I think they're addicted. I might be addicted too, actually, so, you know. Full confession, I sleep with my phone next to me. I mean, who doesn't, right? What did we do without them? I don't know. Anyway, I digress. So here we go, mobile phone addiction, and we have our other categories. These came from my brainstorming session. Now I'm in Articles Plus, I'm casting a wide net, and let's see what happens. I have 92,000 hits, and like I said this morning, I saw a lot of stuff about Chinese college students. So if I wanted to, I could look at the Chinese college ones, and I would recommend that you do, because there might be some things that would be applicable here. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to say not Chinese. And my hits are going to go from 92,000 all the way down to 21,000. And then when I went through here, I still saw stuff about Japan and Taiwan and all of that, which is fine. So then this is just a case in point. What you can do as well, which Google Scholar does not allow you to do, you can do all these limiters here. Now we're down to scholarly research. Now we're down to more source types, reviews or conference materials. Google Scholar does not do this yet, and I'm sure they're going to get there. And then, of course, if you prefer to read in a different language, you can actually do that as well. The system does allow that. And then you can narrow down to a particular time period. Again, going back to our brainstorming session, cell phone addiction, maybe that's something that's fairly recent. Yes, it is. So I'll say 2000s to 2018. I could narrow to that time period as well. If it was social media, it might be a different, now we're down, it might be a different time period. So now it's telling me, this is all the limitations that I've done. It's telling me what my search is. And so here, I need my smartphone. This person is speaking my language. I need my smartphone. Internet, mobile, what do I want? Maybe, oh, we have nursing students. Perhaps I just want to get this article. It's telling me it's an academic journal, of course. And then what's great is that now I can actually focus in on the journal in which this article is coming. So now this is where, let's pretend that this article is the cat's meow. This is exactly what I want. And I read this article. It's amazing. And so now I can download it. Do we have Acrobat Adobe on here? Oh, here it is. Okay, so it's coming from the International Journal of Caring Sciences. I would have read this article. It's just what I want. The methodology is spot on, and maybe I can use some of that methodology as I write my own research proposal. That might be a guide for me. Now I want to go to the references, and this is really what you should be doing. So now I see this person, Arslan, someone, Unal AT, they wrote something in 2013, cell phone usage habits, purposes of education faculty students. Habits and purposes of education faculty students. Okay, good. So let's say I absolutely love this article. And I never knew that there was a journal called International Journal of Human Sciences. Wow. Or there is a journal called International Journal of Mental Health Addiction. Oh my gosh. I didn't know this existed. So that might be just what I want to look for. Okay, or cyber psychology and behavior. I love it, so I'm going to take this one. And I'm going to take the journal title because I didn't know it existed, and perhaps it can really focus on what I want. So I'm going to go digging all the way in that journal. I go back to my discovery layer, and now I just dump in the title of my journal because by default it's looking by title. And here I go, cyber psychology and behavior. We don't have that journal, but that's okay because you can go to Google and find it, look through it on the publisher's website, and then request it through us. And then we'll get it for you. So it's okay. All right? So, so that's one way. We can go looking at the journal itself. We go through all these references. Now this was published in May to August 2016. And let's say really it is the cat's meow, in which case after 2016, I want to know what have people been saying because scholarship is a conversation, right? So back in 2016, this conversation stopped, but we are now in October. So they have got to be talking about this topic still. So how do I do that? This is where Google Scholar is amazing. So I'm going to take the title of my article that I love. And again, this you have to be really methodical. So you're working off of one article. The methodology is lovely, you know, their findings are great, this is working for you. You're done with what the content is. Now you're going to go to the references and see what else is there, what did they use to write this article. And now I want to chase this article. So this is called chasing citations, where now I'm going to go to Google Scholar through the libraries, of course. So I'm going to go home again. I'm going to go to G. I'm going to dump in my title. Because everything that was published, oh man, this is not a good example. Why? Okay, I'm gonna have to get something else. It's too new, the article is too new for me to demonstrate what I wanna demonstrate. So I'm gonna go back to my PDF file and let's take something else. Go away, good. Let's take something that's older. Let's take this one from 2013. Examination of loneliness and mobile phone addiction. Oh my, this is really good if it was my topic. So I'm gonna go back now to Google Scholar. I'm gonna dump in the title of this article that was published in 2013. And here I have it. And the beauty is it's been cited 7 times. So back from 2013, this article has been cited, and now we have more stuff. Nomophobia using mobile phone involvement. Wow, never heard of that. So see, and this is how you broaden your horizons. And this looks like Turkish. Yes. Yeah, that's Turkish. So okay, so this would be the idea. You want to chase citations backward, and then you want to chase the citation forward and see what has happened. Okay, so that's a tip for you. How many of you have been chasing citations forward? Okay, I know all of you are chasing citations backwards, so I'm not even going to ask. So just some other things that I just wanted to mention. Yeah, I have 10 minutes. Ooh, look at me doing good with my time. All right. So you want to, if you wanted to, some of the things you want to think about. We just looked at looking for a journal. You may decide that you really want to focus only on journals with a very high impact factor. You might want to do that. Or if you decide that you want to publish, which you absolutely are doing, you might want to decide, you know, which one is really top tier that I should really be looking at. So you can go to the journal titles and you can actually do like a keyword search, education, psychology. You can do a keyword search because you don't know what the journals are. You know, you just want to do a broad search. And here we have a number of them coming up. Educational psychology, contemporary educational psychology. This is all in the library system because you're trying to find out what education journals are there that I probably don't know about. So let's try this one. And here it's telling you that we have the full text available only from 1997 to 2000 here, and here for 3 years. I don't know why. Did they stop publishing this? For some reason, this only goes up until 2000. So, you know, I just don't have good examples this morning. What's happening with the system? Okay, let's try another. Let's try this one. Training and education. All right, now we're talking 2006 to the present. And so it's going to take you now into the interface where you now can actually focus on this particular journal, okay? So you can look specifically in the journals, you can chase the citations forward or backward, you need to be brainstorming about the demographic, where the people are, you want to be thinking about synonyms, you want to be creating keywords, you want to be aware of controlled vocabulary in the system. And so here I have the journal impact factor, or you might want to be chasing the actual author. And if you wanted to really investigate a journal closely, we do have that facility for you. So I'm going to show you that. And this is called Journal Citations Index. We're going to go back now to our list. Journal Citation Reports, it's called. And I can look for a particular journal in here. Or you can decide to just browse on journals. You can select the categories. And in here, you're going to have a whole lot. You can decide on education. Special ed, whatever it is you want. Let's just do these two. Because now you're investigating the actual journal, you submit, and then it's going to come up here. All of these journals that are associated with education are coming, and then you can determine the journal impact factor and decide whether or not this is a journal that you want to use or you want to publish in. So that's number one. And secondly, we have another where you might want to just investigate an author, and that's called Scopus. Now, when you're determining on the journal impact factor, be careful that you don't compare journals of different disciplines, right? Because a journal, if you're looking at a psychology journal, the impact factor might be much higher than a journal that's in education. But it doesn't mean that the education journal is not good. You need to be comparing impact factors of like disciplines, okay? Because the formula has to do with how many citations they have, etc. So in psychology, they may be much more than they are in education, okay? And here I can look for an author. Shameless plug. Should I look for me? Why not? Let's see. Charles. And my first name is pretty unique, so they should find me. Yay, here I am, Rutgers University, and you can look for me. You can find my publications, and you can see how many citations I actually have. Yeah. So now, Rutgers should give me a raise. Okay, so you might want to look for the author, and then you can actually see how many times it's been cited, and you can actually view the documents themselves. And you can see how many references there have been, etc. Okay? And just some reminders as I close, just things that you already know, but I just want to be sure that it's out there. When we're thinking about statistical information, we want to always know who's collecting the data. We want to be making sure that the statistics don't show any bias, and if they do show the bias, you need to acknowledge that. Bias is not always bad. It may be just what you need to find. Okay, is the data timely? And has the data been repackaged? And you always want to know, can I actually get back to the data? Because a lot of times now, people have to publish the actual raw data so that you can actually get it. And that's something that we're moving in that direction here at Rutgers as well. There's we have our open access repository, and so a lot of information is being put in there because that's the Rutgers mandate now. Now that we're publishing as faculty, we're publishing our work, it should be made available to everyone. We are state funded after all, so you can go looking for the primary data package. And is the coverage complete? And then sometimes too, you want to take a look at the sample, the size of the sample for the study. A lot of times it might be a limitation. The author might have declared that the limitation of my study is the sample size, but you just need to know that and just work within those parameters. And then these are just some of the possible data sources that I would recommend for you in this discipline. And then these are considerations when you're deciding on the books that you want to use. Of course, the content, the purpose, the methodology, again, the usefulness, reliability, the authority of the person, as well as the currency. Of course, currency is negligible here because you know, if you're looking at some concrete work, then you probably will need to be using something that's very old. So, and then these would be the reminders on evaluating the websites that you might be using. Objectivity and bias, again, would be something that I would be interested in as well. And with the websites, I want to see the currency of when the last time that website had been updated as opposed to a book. And so the accuracy and the reliability of the information, and sometimes the website just looks suspect. So just trust yourself, because a lot of times it's just way out there. And that's all I have, folks. You have any questions? Wow, this was so incredibly helpful. Yay!
I forgot to tell you to repeat the question for the people who watch.
Okay, do we have any questions in the room now? Yes.
I got here a little late, so I hope you haven't talked about it. But I was wondering first, one of my professors told me how to access Rutgers Library through Google Scholar. So I was wondering if that's the same as accessing Google Scholar through Rutgers Library, or if it provides different information. And also about the journal citation things, like I was wondering if there's also some sort of evaluation of like accredited journals, or it's just like the citation is the only criteria. It's some institution that evaluates journals and says, oh, this is a good one, this is not.
Good. So the question, one of the questions was, am I accessing Google Scholar? Am I accessing the library through Google Scholar or vice versa? And it is that you're accessing Google Scholar through the library system. So go through the library system in order to access what Google Scholar is going to reveal to you so that you are recognized. The purpose of that is that your IP address then is recognized as affiliated with Rutgers, and then Google Scholar will reveal what Rutgers actually has. And the second question about the journal citations, you can just, in here, it's going to tell you, it's going to give you an explanation of what the journal is. You're welcome, Julianne. So what can happen is, this is lovely. I mean, this real-time feedback, I mean, it can go to my head right now. So what you can do is go to the libraries again, and when you go to the journal citation, or you can even go to Web of Science, and those two databases are going to give you explanations of the journals. They're going to say if the journal is peer-reviewed or not, and so you'll know the impact factor is also going to impact, for want of a better term, it's also going to impact your decision, right? The other thing you can do is you can go out to the publisher's website. You can just Google the particular journal, and it's going to tell you about itself. The publisher is going to tell you about the journal. It's going to say this is an international peer-reviewed journal with this scope, and it's going to have author guidelines, because if you wanted to publish in that journal, you would need to know, how do I have to redact? You know, is it going to be a blind review or whatever? And so that's going to also give you guidelines. So there are several ways that you can find out the information that you need. And that's the whole point about being agile when you're doing your research. You do this, you do that, and then you just let the research lead you as well to make the concrete decisions. Good. Any other questions? Yes.
Okay. So you showed results on article class.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, can we sort the result based on the citations, from your citations?
Not in Articles Plus. Okay, so that was a good question. You know what? I need to ask that. Yeah, the question is, can we use Articles Plus when we get our results in Articles Plus and the whole list? Can we sort it to reflect the citations, the number of citations? I know it does not do that, but that would be interesting. And that's why I said I really love Google Scholar, because Google Scholar allows you to actually do that. If you did look for the author though, and you look for the author in Scopus, then you could look for then you could see the article and see how many, but you still have to do another step, right? So unless and until we get there. Well. There's one thing I think I should tell you, like, so you go through your whole research and you've been going in through all these interfaces, you've been going through Articles Plus, you've been going through ERIC, etc. And you need to remember all the steps that you took, but you don't have to. There's a way for you to actually save your searches. So I'm going to help you with that because I think that's really very valuable. I forgot that part. Let's just go back and let's hope. Well, I didn't log in, so it's not going to remember, but let's just do our mobile phones, addiction. And let's go back to our college students. And let's go back to cognitive, I'll say interference. And let's see what we get. And here we have a whole lot. So I'm just gonna pretend now, I'm gonna click on this. I'm gonna narrow this down from 2000, just to give you an example of the power of this. And then I'll just add and I'll say not Chinese, like we did before. What's great about this is that you can save your searches. So your search history, you can actually, so see here, everything I did, I started off at 69,000 because this is a search that I did, and then I did this and it gave me 814, and then I did that and it gave me 771, then I did this. All of this is saved on the system. You can save your searches, but you will need to create a profile once in your life. And it doesn't have to be your NetID. Actually, it's not your NetID. You have to create something completely different. Let me just remember mine. So, and then you can call it whatever. And you always want to save your searches permanently. You just, and this is all that Articles Plus is searching, just to give you an idea of the breadth of what's happening. And then, so here I did this before. So I did this search, at-risk student education. So this is my profile now because I've done this many times. So I can retrieve my saved search that I did whenever I did that. And now I can rerun my search. So I don't have to physically write every single thing down. So I think that's something that you really should try to implement. And in 2 months, when you come back to this topic, if something new has been published and you rerun it, it's going to bring that as well. So it's good to have that.
So
yes.
How did that all start? The
Yeah.
search history?
I went to search history, and then it prompts me to save my searches, and then I can create my profile, and then I can name it whatever I want to name it so that I can go back into it. When I log in again, I'm going to see my profile and I can rerun my search. So that's going to be my last thing. Any more questions? Yeah.
I have a question about RefWorks that I used
My
to
favorite.
use and stopped using it. I just felt like this is a couple of years now. I think it was just very cumbersome. So
What? Okay.
has it
So
been updated?
oh yeah, RefWorks has been updated. I still use the old one, full confession. But these are citation management tools that the only way to really overcome I don't want to say they're cumbersome, but there's ways to use them to your benefit, and the only way to really get to them is to be using them. So from the library page, it does interact with them. So if I did go to a particular article, let me just rerun this search, and I went to an article, then I could click on this, and then I could actually export it to any one of these. I could export it to RefWorks or EndNotes, any one of these. And oh, by the way, you have access to RefWorks for all of your life after you leave Rutgers. It just won't update. You won't get the updates after you leave, but you'll have what you put in there. So I don't remember my password because it's on my MacBook, and so I don't have to think about that password. But you could just transfer it into there, and then you can create. I think the key to it is to create the folders and to really be, again, methodical. You have, you create your folders where you're going to be putting those files, and then it's going to be more manageable. Like research, you just have to have a plan, and just stick with your plan, and just have a method, a strategy, and be intentional on what you're doing. So in this moment, I'm working off of this article, and I put this article into RefWorks, and I'm going to look in the references, and then I'm going to chase the citation. I'm done with this article. Next, so that you're not flailing around, because it's easy to go down a rabbit hole and not come back. And sometimes a rabbit hole is really interesting, and you don't want to come out, but you have to, because life is moving on. So yeah, I mean, you just have to play with it. And we do RefWorks. They do have tutorials. These providers have tutorials on their websites. And we also have experts in the libraries who can sit with you. Yingting Zhang is somebody who will work with you, come to your class and show you how to work with EndNote, etc. And how to find the expertise in the libraries. That's another way. You go to the library webpage and you go to the faculty and staff directory. And Yingting is Z. She's the information and education librarian. She's in New Brunswick, and she will come and work with you. And you can find me here too, by the way. No pictures, just emails and addresses. Here I am. Okay, yes?
2 questions from the
Oh, sure.
webinar. The first one, going back to the saving the search. The question is, can Google Scholar similarly save search?
Let's see. I never tried it. That's a good question. You guys making me up my game here. Let's see. This is my wheelhouse. There is a save here, so I guess you can save your articles, and that's something that I can pursue and really answer this question properly, because I'm not sure that it allows that, but I don't want to give a definite answer right now. I'm going to explore and get back to you.
Then the second question, is there a way to see if something is available on ProQuest library using the reference catalog?
If you're looking for I would recommend you go through the Rutgers, find books, go to the catalog, and then whatever you're always going to do an advanced search, and whatever you're looking for that's electronic like that, you would go to RU Online. You would limit the collection to RU Online, and then that's going to bring the ebooks, the ebook collection that you actually want. Yes, I knew that answer. And I think we have about 5 more minutes. And anything else? So we have goodies at the front. I brought some highlighters and some, I've been told that graduate students love Post-it notes. I do, so I brought some for you guys as well. So, whenever you write or highlight, think about the libraries. And of course, I'm available for you to work with me one-on-one as many times as you want for the duration of your college career, as long as I'm alive. Okay, so just reach out to me and we can sit one-on-one. I've actually had the privilege of working with one of the students in this class, and you've come to me one time. No, you came to me twice. Yeah, so we've worked together. She actually came into my office, and I give you all my attention, and then I become familiar with your topics, and we can just keep working together. And if there's something that you want us to add to the collection, I will also consider that as well. So I'm your librarian. I just want you to have a face to the name so that when you reach out to me, and I want you to know how very helpful I am. And My time is yours. I promise. Librarian's honor. Yes.
So the big journals that I use aren't at the library, and one has an 18-month embargo. So I request the articles, and they're delivered very quickly. Is there a limit to how many I can do in a year?
Nope.
Okay.
There used to be.
Okay.
Yeah, but we have absorbed the cost because we love you guys. Do you feel the love? Do you feel it? Yeah, you can ask for as many as you like because we are a research institution. Even if we don't carry them, this is a very good point for us to probably end on. Even if there's something that we don't carry, and we carry a lot, we do have access to a lot of institutions, okay? And we have something called WorldCat. I don't know if you know it, but it's the world's catalog. And if there's something that you want to look for in terms of a particular hard item, like a book, I mean, it tells you there's one in Canada, there's one in Arizona, whatever, we'll get it. As long as the institution wants to lend it, we'll get it. I mean, we can only do so much. Okay? So, thank you. Now I can eat my pizza. Oh, is this still on?